All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our virtual conversation tonight entitled I'm the Parent, Not the Teacher. This is an opportunity for us to get together to talk about the impacts of virtual learning on our families as well as mental health in the ongoing pandemic. I am super excited to have this amazing panel assembled for this evening. I like to look at the screen right now, and I feel like I'm talking to the Black Avengers. This is going to be a great conversation tonight, and I'm excited to hear from each of you and also to hear from those of you that are joining us online today. We are grateful and thankful that you are taking time out to be a part of this conversation online, and we invite you to drop your comments and your questions there in the chat, and we'll be able to get to those at the appropriate time this evening. So as we get started with our conversation tonight, we want to go through and just do some introductions. We'll give our panelists, each of them, about 30 seconds to introduce themselves. And in doing so, we'll find out who the long-winded person is, and we'll make sure that they only get invited to answer a handful of questions. So, so that being said, who wants to go first? Thank you. Yep, we'll start with the doctors because just so you guys know, if you ever send out an email about participating in a panel conversation and you request responses, you're only going to get them back from people who are doctors. So I'd like to thank you, Dr. Holman and Dr. Egweru, for your doctor ability to follow directions. So we'll go ahead and pass it to Dr. Shavonna Holman for her introduction.
Hi, good evening, everyone. And thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this wonderful panel. I'm super excited to be here and join you all tonight and share information with you. Again, my name is Shavonna Holman, and I am a professor at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln in the Educational Administration Department. Primarily, my job is to train teachers who are interested in becoming principals and principals who are wanting to receive their superintendency endorsement. I am also the vice president of the school board for Omaha Public Schools and have been working in education for a little bit over 20 years and am still here and excited to be here. Thank you.
Beautiful. 23 and a half seconds.
Yes.
That is how it's done. Thank you. Dr. Bradley Ekwerekwu,
yes.
The platform is yours, sir.
Yes, thank you. I am Dr. Bradley Ekwerekwu. It's good to see everybody. A lot of my old friends on here. Good to see y'all again. Hopefully you're doing well in this this time of distancing. I keep looking this way because I have two boys. I'm a proud father of a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old who are navigating supper by themselves right now. I currently serve as the CEO of the learning community of Douglas and Sarpy County. I'm a proud Texan. You need to know that. And I love education. And I've been in education for all my professional career and in nonprofit education my whole professional career. Very happy to be here tonight.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Not as good as Dr. Holman, but that was 26 seconds. So we're still right there. Still under that 30 seconds. So Miss Monica Wells. Oh, you're still muted. There we go.
Can you hear me? All right. This is pressure. 26 seconds. Monica Wells. I am the counselor of Nelson Mandela Elementary. Proud, born and raised in the majestic streets of North Omaha, Nebraska. I am a proud Benson Bunny graduate. 20 plus years in education in areas of administration, counseling, career planning. Love working with first generation superstars. Proud member of Church on Purpose, where the illustrious Pastor Jonathan Chapman is my pastor, and I'm here to be grateful to be a part of the Avengers tonight.
29 and a half, but you get a membership discount, so we'll drop that down to 20. Thank you. So we'll go down to across our bottom row now, and we'll start with Mr. Ricky Smith.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the invite. I'm proud to be here. Currently, I am on the Omaha Public School Board and work with the Empowerment Network as the director of Omaha 360. Again, I've, like many of you, have been working with youth and education for over 20 plus years. I enjoy it. It is my life's passion, and I will continue to do this work. I'm also a candidate for Omaha Public School Board Subdistrict 1. So as we talk about voting in the ballot, and vote up and down your ballot and vote for the one you call, the one you trust, the one you know. That's what my tag is. And so I'm here always for my community. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. I'm not going to tell you how many seconds that was. It was less than 30 though. Just barely. All right, let's go over to the East Coast to our Baltimore family, Mr. Brian Bailey. Hey, Brian Bailey, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm happy to be a part of the Avengers. I'm Brian Bailey. I'm a mental health clinician in the metropolitan area of Baltimore, Washington, D.C., Virginia. I've been providing therapeutic services to children and families for about 25 years or more. And I'm happy to be an Avenger. Is that 15 seconds?
That's 12 seconds, brother. 12 seconds. All right. Coming next is somebody that I have known literally my entire life, and a significant portion of hers, my big sister. Go ahead, Heather. Introduce yourself.
Sorry, trying to unmute. Good evening, everyone. Heather Chapman. I'm a clinical social worker. I've been also, as well as Brian, not as long, providing therapy, clinical social work services to children and families for the last 20 years. And currently, continue to do that, but then also concurrently, I'm vice president of the United Way neighborhood zones at United Way of Central Maryland. Glad to be with you all this evening.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And rounding out our panel for this evening is none other than Miss Monique Cannon. Sorry,
Good evening, everyone. I'm having some technical issues, but good evening. First and foremost, I'm a parent of a 7th grader and a 10th grader at Jesuit and Omaha, respectively. And I also have the privilege of serving as the employment director for Step Up Omaha, the youth employment program here in town. And lastly, I do a lot of contracting work with the Omaha Public Schools District, really supporting families and parents. So excited to be here, excited to be part of the conversation.
Excellent. Thank you. So again, we're gathered here tonight to have just a discussion, a dialogue about the impacts of virtual learning, just to provide some context for our dialogue tonight. Of course, with the ongoing developments with COVID-19, many school districts all around the country have made what I personally believe to be a very wise decision in offering virtual or remote learning for our students during this time. But even though it may be the decision that is in the best interest of their health, we know that there are additional impacts that our families are experiencing because of our students now having to learn from home, parents having to be home to provide that support. Of course, there's ongoing dialogue about access to technology and all of the resources that are necessary to keep our kids connected to learning. So there's a lot that goes into this whole virtual learning concept. And so tonight we're not here necessarily to discuss or dialogue or to debate the decision that was made for virtual learning, which of course, as I already said, I absolutely 100% support. But tonight we want to kind of talk about the reality of the situation that our families are experiencing because of virtual learning, and also hope to give some tips, some resources, some tools to our families to equip them to be able to navigate these days ahead. And so I want to start the conversation off tonight with Dr. Shavonna Holman, who, as you heard, is the vice president of the Omaha Public Schools Board of Education here in Omaha. And can you just talk a little bit about, from your experience, from your conversation as a representative of the community, some of the things that families are expressing as their concerns as it relates to virtual learning?
Certainly. So one of the biggest things that many of our families are stressing their anxiety about is just the fact that they may have to stop working in order to be home with their children during this time in order to help try to educate them, or possibly their spouse may have to quit their job. So obviously that source of income, financial stability, is a huge stress, which causes a lot of anxiety and frustration for our parents. The fact that they may feel uncomfortable or maybe not even knowledgeable with the technology that our students have been provided, or maybe not have been provided, depending upon what school districts that their children may be in. maybe not feeling comfortable. And the thing about it is our kids, they know everything about technology, so they could probably get on and show our parents, but still that lack of knowledge or that lack of comfortability, in utilizing the technology is certainly something that our parents are concerned about as well. And then just the work, period, not knowing what the standards are for our kids in regards to what NDE expects for our kids to know. Not knowing how to really do the math anymore. Math is not, they teach it so differently now. It's not just your multiplication problem, 12 times 12, and you multiply down and then diagonally. It's not like that anymore. And so when I even try to help my daughter, I'm like, just do it this way, you're going to get the same answer. And she's like, no, that's not how you do it. And I'm like, I don't understand what that is, and I'm an educator, and I've had plenty of conversations with some of my colleagues and about this. And it's really hard for us as parents when we were taught a certain way and we know that you're going to get the same answer, right? Just do it this way. But in the kids said, no, that's not the way my teacher showed me how to do this. Mommy, you're not doing it the right way. And so there may be this constant battle back and forth between the child and the parent in trying to understand each other, number one, but then understanding what the curriculum is and how to navigate that and how to navigate that online, because it's certainly different than doing it paper pencil. So those are some of the things that I would like to share. And I'm sure there's a lot more that other people can share as well. But those are some of the common concerns that I've heard.
Thank you. Ms. Wells?
Am I unmuted? I would say I would agree 110% with Dr. Holman. One of the things I heard that was most profound was I heard a parent say, we struggled with mental health before the pandemic. How do you think that we're doing now? And so I would say the mental health, also students who are having to be online and may have some special services, special education. So what does that look like? Where's the support in that? Has been a lot of what some of the parents have been going through, looking for resources, where to go for resources, and just having time to breathe. I have been on the phone with so many parents who just want to talk about anything. If you want to talk about Young and Restless, we can talk about Young and Restless. They just want someone to talk to. They just want someone to cry, to hear them cry and to be with them as they're in a home trying to navigate what to do next with their children. And like Dr. Holman said, quitting their job, or their spouse has to quit their job. So just trying to find a way through it all. I would agree with Dr. Holman 110%. And then that mental health piece is huge.
Mr. Smith, you also are boots on the ground with families every day, and so from your perspective, the conversations that you're having, what are some of the obstacles and barriers that our families are experiencing?
One of the things that I can see is, again, it's already been mentioned, is those students with individual education plans. So those students that need that special attention. And I was trying to be as understanding as possible. And it wasn't until a parent said yesterday on the news, so they have a child with special needs, and it's like taking them to 5 different rock concerts at the same time. When you see like what we're looking at right now, 8 different people on Zoom talking, I guess no way that they can be engaged appropriately and get the learning and the necessary supports that they need. And so I'm getting that. And it also, it's been expressed, the food issues. People are worried about their kids getting meals, and then also access to healthcare. So a lot of our students utilize that school-based health center, and it looks totally different now when you have to check those students for fevers, and we're looking for COVID stuff versus anything else.
Yeah. Dr. Brad, can you talk a little bit about some of the feedback that you've heard from families? Because of course your organization works to support families all throughout the community, and so what are some of the requests for support and resources that you all are receiving?
Sure. I'll answer that question right after I secede about 30 seconds. Maybe I missed it, but I didn't hear you introduce yourself in 30 seconds and kind of level and honor the group with.
Don't worry about me.
I think it's important. I think that your voice and your status also is included here, sir.
Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate that. So I am Jonathan Chapman. I have the honor and pleasure of serving as the pastor of Church on Purpose here in Omaha, Nebraska. I'm also employed at the Empowerment Network, where I work with the wonderful Miss Monique Cannon as a part of Step Up Omaha, and Ricky Smith as a part of Omaha 360, and also work with our churches here in the community. And super excited about an announcement that's going to be coming out here in the next couple of weeks about some great things that are happening in the community. But that's who I am. I'm Janae's husband. I'm David, Jada, Joseph, and Maya's daddy, and I'm Heather's little brother and Amber's little brother too. So that's who I am. So
thank you. That was 37 seconds, but I think, you know, similar to what we've heard, you know, for us, a lot of the families went all the way back to disparities and inequities that existed well before COVID, or what, you know, well before this year, well before a lot of this stuff of what we're talking about. Most, you know, some of it centers around mental health, but a lot of it is just around basic need. One of the biggest things we heard was diapers and wipes and formula and meals and transportation and medication. And I need a ride here to be able to do this. And, you know, the grocery bill is this, and we got a break on rent, but, you know, the lights and utilities, and then, you know, questions around the stimulus checks and stuff like that. So it's really at a just basic need level. Then you compound it with, you know, the different things you start hearing about the education system and coming back, and is it safe? The technology piece, the software piece. And then you kind of mix in, you know, those who aren't as comfortable with the language, and those who don't want to navigate this by themselves and need, you know, interpreters and advocates for them in the school as well. And then, you know, the final thing I'll add is just around ability and or disability. You know, if I do like this and I still talk to you, you can hear what I'm talking about, but there are members of our community that are unable to decipher what you're saying if everybody's running around with a mask. So we've heard those specifically are the ones that come to my mind. But yet, you know, all in all, I would say nothing has really changed, because there are a number of disparities that have existed and continuing to exist in the learning community environments. And I'd say, you know, I'd say nationwide, but definitely in the greater Omaha area that we work in.
And we'll come back to that conversation about the pre-existing disparities that coronavirus and all of this has just accentuated. But before we get there, I do want to come to Brian and Heather. Can you talk a little bit about what you've been hearing in terms of the mental stress and strain on parents and on families as it relates to not only the ongoing pandemic, but also kind of wrapping our minds around being able to support kids and our students properly during this season of virtual learning?
Heather?
Yeah, so a lot of what we've been hearing is very similar to what everyone else has shared already, is parents feeling pretty overwhelmed, regardless of where, you know, economically where they are. They are feeling like this is one additional thing on their plate, while people are juggling so many different priorities at this time. And I heard a lot of things mentioned. Housing is one of those other pieces right now that we know a lot of our families are, you know, they're juggling and trying to figure out right now. You know, in our area, and I believe nationwide, you know, 40% of folks are at risk for eviction at this point. And that's huge. And so we know that affects a number of our students. And so, you know, you're thinking about and worrying about how, you know, it was mentioned before, how do I utilize a device that I may not be used to, but also how do I get my hands on a device that I don't have? And if it's like, I don't know how it is in Omaha, but in our area, you know, not all of our families have devices yet, which is still trying to kind of get that figured out and rolled out. And so it's in the works, but even when you get it, if you have multiple children in a home, you may have limited number of devices. So it's that kind of rolling it out, learning out, figuring out how to use it. Then I'm also trying to figure out how to navigate these resources that I had beforehand, right? And those resources are changing every day in this environment because nonprofits are they're struggling and they're trying to stand up. And having to pivot to where they weren't before. And so that causes, they were already, you know, the system was already difficult to navigate before all of them, and trying to navigate it now is impossible. And so just the stress of that, I'm doing that and work. We you have kind of those who are working at home, working virtually, and anyone knows that working virtually is more difficult than it was before. Out in the office, it's like, did it ever end? And so juggling that with your family life, but then those who then are going on the front lines and care for their children, because we know how childcare is getting hit right now. And then you're navigating transportation because, mass transportation isn't running the way that it was before. So there are all of these pieces that our families are trying to juggle. And they are tired. And we have this, I think, as Black folks, we have this conversation about just you hit this kind of plateau, and there's only so much everybody can take. Yeah. So, yeah.
Brian?
Absolutely. I think we've heard it, because the fact of the matter is that our profession is sick and tired. Like, we can't talk about education and not talk about mental health, right? Now, before, mental health was the taboo place in Black communities. We didn't accept it. We didn't receive it. And unless your child had an IEP or a 504 plan and was diagnosed with ADHD or ADD and took Ritalin or Concerta, that was the depth of mental health in the school system. Well, now we know that that's not what's happening anymore. In fact, our new ADHD, I'm doing my air quotes, let me get right in the camera. Our new ADHD is autism, right? That's what's taken off. But Monica Wells mentioned The Young and the Restless. And she was just having a conversation, right? But that's the most realist thing that has been shared thus far, because that's a coping strategy. What we're finding in our communities during this COVID is that our parents, our children, our patients, our clients, and us, we're having difficulties around how do we cope during this pandemic. And we're looking for ways to alleviate some of this anxiety. And it's growing and it's growing. And I know when I watch the stories, right? But my wife has me watching, Housewives of Huntsville, and I'm like, oh, and I found myself, but it's an outlet, So mental health is so very real, and it's in our faces. And we have to be mindful to take the proper steps and the proper measures to manage some of this anxiety.
It is. It's a lot to deal with, and I think to the point that's already been shared, I think people are really tired. This has been an exhausting year. Back in March when things kind of really started going downhill in the United States as it relates to COVID, it was I can't remember a 3-week period in my life where I worked as much as I did, just trying to get a grasp on everything and figure out how to navigate this remote working environment. And so I want to pass it to the woman who has to be the most exhausted woman in all of North America, Ms. Monique Cannon, because she embraced the pandemic and took a summer program that ordinarily services 700 to 800 young people, placing them on job sites all throughout the community and in physical classrooms. She took that program and within a month and a half rebuilt it for virtual, was still able to get the word out, get young people registered to participate. And I think she has a lot to bring to our conversation tonight about navigating that virtual space, where our schools were really just doing whatever was necessary in the moment when everything shut down before. Monique was able to put together a program and a meaningful virtual experience for the year. So Monique, if you can just talk a little bit about the challenges that you saw going into the Step Up Summer program, kind of what you did to help alleviate or minimize some of those and some of the results of that.
So I think a lot of what has already been stated is probably what the same challenges were. And we are, of course, talking about, we pay individuals. So, considering that we still had all the same challenges with technology and trying to make some very big pivots and quick pivots, I would say, to get everything turned around. But in addition to the technology, in addition to not having space in the home, for multiple children to participate, not having a kitchen table in some of the homes, not having a bedroom because they're sharing a bedroom with 3 other children, those are all challenges that we definitely have to be aware of and we have to take a look at. But what I will say is there were a lot of people who said there's no way you're going to be able to pivot and have this program, but we had 510 individuals who participated in our program. And the one thing that we focused on was building relationships, teaching them the tech tools. We use Google Classroom, we use Zoom. Most of our young people had never participated in a Zoom meeting before. They had never had a Gmail account or Google Classroom account or anything like that, as well as the coaches who were facilitating the learning. But the biggest thing for me was, can we, build the relationships? Let's just focus on that. Let's play games. Let's talk, because they're online for 4 hours. So let's make sure that we have content for 4 hours, but let's also make sure that we have those mind breaks and all of that. But I think the consistency and structure piece was why we were successful. So each day they knew what to expect. They knew that Monday was Make It Happen Monday. They knew Fridays we were talking about financial literacy. And the reason why I think that's so important for both parents and educators right now is because we are all tired, and so are our children. Our children are exhausted as well. Their whole livelihood has shifted. They're in the house just like we are. They're used to being stimulated from 6 a.m. until 9 p.m. with sports and activities and school and friends and all of that. And so they're missing those things too. But when you create a system of consistency and structure, which we usually do at the elementary level, but we don't think that our teenagers need that. Our teenagers need that as well to continue. And I'm talking about those who, don't have the IEPs, or maybe they have an IEP, but they don't have like a known disability per se. They still need consistency and they still need structure. So the more that we could do that, the better off we found ourselves. To the point where towards the middle of the summer, we had young people saying, hey, you're talking about something off topic. This is supposed to be Career Exploration Day. This isn't Make It Happen Monday, and so they will tell you and call you out on those things after a while. Were they scared of the technology as much as, like Dr. Holman talks about, they know the technology? These were still new tech tools for them. So they were a little apprehensive on, am I doing it right? But they showed up. They showed up each day. We had very low turnover this summer. And most of them, to be honest, were on their phones because they didn't have a tablet. They didn't have a device of any other kind. So they were on their phones. 50% of our young people this summer were actually on their phones. And so to participate in something for 4 hours on their phones, we didn't think that was going to be ideal, but they continued to show up. And I think my last thing would just be to trust the process. What I learned in that moment of having to make those big shifts was that I didn't always have the answers. And some of the things we were literally throwing it at the wall and hoping that it stuck, right? The same thing is going to be true in education, especially when we're talking about OPS, a district of 54,000 young people with multiple families, dynamics, all of those different things, kids going from house to house, all of that. The disparities are there. We know that they're there. But what I would ask parents to do, and educators alike, is just to show grace. And like, in this time where we might have a kid pop in a screen, or we might have, a child who's overwhelmed and needs to turn off their screen, allow them to turn off their screen. Allow them to take that time to just come down for just a moment, because it's going to be at different times. It may not be at 10:15 when you scheduled a break, but let them take their time. And we all have to give ourselves permission to do so. So I think we learned a lot about a lot of different things, but I think the most that I would say is, if we were to do it all over again, that consistency and structure, that was the key for all of it. And I would really encourage educators and parents alike to really take that on. Whatever that looks like for you may be different. It may not be perfect, but just keep trying things out.
You're muted. You're muted.
I can't believe I just made that rookie mistake. That is a shame. Mrs. Wells, you were shaking your head a lot while Monique was talking. Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Absolutely. That consistency structure is key, and that is key. I remember having a scholar who there was 2 different 3rd grade sessions, and whichever one he wanted to pop in for the day, that's the class that he joined for the day. If that's what you needed to do to be successful. There was a lot of kids who had that anxiety about seeing a screen, like we're staring at all of us as Avengers right now. It was a lot for them to come on here and have people stare at them. That anxiety was real. So allowing them to have their camera off and being able to speak in the chat and being okay with that was something else that a lot of our teachers were able to do. So I just agree 100% that consistency is key, that structure is key, and you have to have grace during this time. And our parents, I had many parents that were crying and saying, I just feel like a terrible parent. We're screaming at each other. I don't know what to do. He's not listening to me. Give yourself some grace. Give yourself some grace. Myself, my wonderful, beautiful Layla, who is 8 years old, who I'm always told is wonderful in the classroom. There was a couple times that I looked up and said, is this what you do in class? And there was times when I'm here trying to, be the counselor and be the mom at the same time. And I thought, now this is the profession I chose, education. And my child is over here singing and showing little stuffed animals in the camera to her class during math time. No, so give yourself grace, give them grace. I would agree with Monique 110%.
That's good insight. Does anybody want to have a comment that they want to add to that before we move on to? Yes, sir, Mr. Smith.
She mentioned in that spot, trust the process. Oh my goodness. It's so many people who jump the gun and search for problems while we are trying to deliver solutions. And so if they just trust the process, read, look at the information that you're getting, and we're trying to work with families where they are, meet them where they're at. And if we have the updated information, that helps us to be able to contact you and give you what it is you need. So everybody just kind of trust the process and know that we've tried to think about every single scenario. So even with everybody going live tomorrow, 54,000 students logging on at the same time, guess what? Something's going to crash. Something's going to crash, period. We know. Just trust the process. And you got information that says contact your school directly, not the school district. Don't call Ricky. I'm not an IT person. I asked Jonathan for my IT question. So when you call me, you're in trouble.
Dr. Holman?
That's it.
I was just going to piggyback on that. Mm-hmm. It's a learning curve for everybody. It's a learning curve for everybody, for parents, for teachers, for the school districts, for the district leadership. No one knows all of the answers. And I can't remember who it was I was talking about. Yeah, you have to show yourself grace and then show others grace as well, because it is going to be a learning curve for probably for a couple of months, because there's constantly going to be things like Ricky has already mentioned, things that may go wrong, things that may not load, things that we have no idea that could potentially happen. And so I think it's just important that everybody just remember, you have to breathe. And I mean, even for us, it can get frustrating for us as well, with working with the district and understanding all of the potential things that could go wrong. And so, yeah, definitely have to show grace and provide grace.
Mr. Chapman, can I add one? I want to be the long-winded one. I promise I won't be the long-winded one. But I do want to stress the importance of having the people at the school building relationships with our parents so that they are comfortable with asking for help. And I want our parents to ask for help, but we have to build those relationships and leave that open so that they are feeling okay with asking for help. Build your community. Our parents get with parents if you can help each other out. Our wonderful librarian, she went and did house calls and was tech support. I mean, we were in there like the Geek Squad, whatever it takes. We're willing to help, but I want people to get comfortable with asking for help. But we have to create the space where people are comfortable and build those relationships so they can do so.
Brian, you seem to agree enthusiastically with that particular point. Go ahead and share.
Everybody, nobody here is in education. All of you guys are mental health clinicians. I can hear it. You are mental health clinicians at heart. You are absolutely correct, because what we're missing is to build the connection, right? The engagement. I mean, we are asking our parents and the children to trust us, to take the risk, right? And trust in us, but we have to be willing to take the same risk. What risk are we taking, right? So We have to establish those relationships. We have to build a connection because they are developing new anxieties every single minute, right? And we are doing the same. Dr. Holman was mentioning about math with her child. I still carry the one. When I talk with my nephews and nieces, they're like, well, you don't know why you're doing that. And I'm like, I get the same answer. So it's the small things that we are missing out on when we talk about, the anxiety that's developing. And we're going to have to open the playing field, open the floor plan. This is a new normal, unfortunately, that we've never seen before. So, Mr. Smith mentioned that they're going to have glitches when this thing launches. Absolutely. And the parents and the youth are going to have the most anxiety and wonder what's going to happen. Why hasn't something changed? How do we get better? And people are frustrated. We're tired. We work more now online than we have ever done. And I want to go into my office. I want to sign a check at the desk, but we don't have that right now. So we just need to be mindful that all of these things are drastically impacting our mental health, our mental hygiene, if you will. If we're not being mindful of that, we're gonna fall short in a few places. So it's gonna first begin in our being open and being honest. I'm sorry, somebody's saying bye to me. We're gonna first be open and honest about where we are, and saying, I'm not okay. And that's okay, right? So if you're not okay, you best believe that 17-year-old senior who wants to graduate, or for here in Maryland and in Baltimore and in the district in Virginia, you have youth who are bona fide athletes who will not be able to afford college, but are relying on this possible full ride scholarship and relying on their senior athletic year to get them out of their communities into a dorm, playing on a team, paying for their education. But now their chances are even more slender than they were before because they're not going to have a senior athletic school year. So it's all of those little things that builds this stress, builds this anxiety, and then we're going to find people taking other steps. I'm being long-winded. I'm going to stop. I'm past.
Right.
But we're going to find people taking extra steps to modify, to get by. We are hard on people. This is my last piece. We're hard on people who take non-essential trips, right? Why are you out in the public? Why are you doing this? But just for a second, we have to think about Dr. Bradley. I don't want to say your last name wrong. Could you say it for me?
Ekwu.
That's Nigerian? You Igbo?
Yes.
Igbo state?
Yes. Kedu, no, number.
I'm sorry, I had a moment. I want to be Nigerian so bad, bro. So bad, right? I changed my name to Chukwu, right? Yeah, Kedu.
That's my name. Yeah, Kedu. What's up, baby?
I'm sorry. So non-essential activities, non-essential trips. Why is my Igbo brother out in the Home Depot buying paint for a reason? Well, he may be going through some stress and anxiety. Right. He may be suffering some other things or trying to prevent from buying a bottle of beer or a bottle of liquor or smoking a J, right? So he's taking non-essential trips to go and keep himself busy because he's in a quarantine. Mental health is so real that it's impacting every single aspect of our day. We are building anxieties, which will build a diagnosis. I'm done.
Dr. Brad, and then Heather, and then we'll move on to our next topic.
No, I'm in a good space with everybody, and a couple things that I heard. I want to exclamation point, that point about adaptability. We got a plan for tomorrow. You got a plan for next week, but it's going to change. And I will say that it coming from a person who has kids, and I got to have 2 or 3 plans in place every single day. But some people don't work like that. And to everybody's point, having grace for other people who need to know A, B, C, D, you know, the alphas out there who have to be in control of certain kind of things. Well, they don't just grow in, you know, they don't hit 21 years old and become that person. There are a lot of students like that too. So understanding that there's students out there, there are parents out there, there are siblings out there that are also, you know, having to learn a new normal in a lot of ways, and it has to be malleable like that. We have to be able to form and transition from day to day. And then I'll only you know, add that you know, my Igbo brother that left out of here. I mean, we gotta take a choice to say, you know what, I matter today too. So many people in this room, I always think about pastors in this way. They spend all the time going that way. I preach, I teach, I care, I show up. I always, all of you do the same. All of you are teachers. All of you are servants of the communities that you represent. Who is doing that to you? Ms. Wells and I talk about this all the time. Who is speaking to you? Who's feeding into you? Who is speaking that life and that life more abundantly your way? And if it's not anybody, or they're quarantined, or they can't get to you, then you better find a way to do it yourself. So I'll stop right there.
Heather?
No, it's funny because that was exactly, I just want to exclamation point that piece. Is just the importance of self-care for those that are supporting our families. Because so often, you know, we're, you know, out there supporting everyone, thinking about, you know, we got to do this, we got to get this T crossed, and we can be we are our hardest critics, right? We're our worst critics. And so it's really important, you know, grace has been the word, I think, of this panel, that we extend ourselves grace, knowing that, again, you know, we haven't been here before, but also with that, what time are we taking away from this? Are we taking time off? What are we doing for ourselves during, you know, even if we're parents, you know, what time are we taking away from the rest of the family just for ourselves, to fill our cups, to have our cups filled? It's really important, because we know that when we get to that place, that it's not only are we literally killing ourselves physically, spiritually, mentally, but you know, in return, as we're dealing with and we're interacting with families, it's going to come out one way or the other. It's going to be that day when you're in that wrong place and you don't mean to snap, and it just comes. And so it's really important to you know, somebody's saying it, protect your own peace. It's so true. Just make sure that we are and have it. If you need an accountability partner, because all of us are not, you know, great about that piece. It's just that's what I wanted to just share.
Thank you. So this is, I mean, legitimately a conversation that could extend multiple hours, because there are so many different elements that are attached to it. But really at the core of it, at the foundation of this conversation, my hope is that that our parents and any of our students that may watch this conversation tonight, that they get some hope in knowing that they're not alone in this, that there are resources available to support them through this. And so we've got about 17 minutes left before we look to wrap, so that we can keep this to an hour. But with that 17 minutes, I want to first kind of go around the panel, and if you don't want to say anything for a particular segment, then, you know, don't feel obligated to. But I want you to just kind of take the time that we have left to speak some encouragement and to offer any resources that you may have to our parents first. So we'll go through and we'll talk to the parents first, then we'll come back and talk to our students, and then we'll wrap up by talking to our staff, because just like our parents and just like our students, this is a very stressful time for our staff as well, and they need to know that they are supported and that we are looking to partner with them in this process. So we'll go through first and just offer kind of any encouragement that's on your heart to give to our parents, any resources that you may have available for our parents. And then once we've gone through with our parents, then we'll come back and hit our students, and then we'll wrap up with our staff. And then at the conclusion of this, for those of you that are joining us online, we want to say thank you for joining us. But we do want you to stick to the end because we're going to provide contact information, follow-up information, so that you can connect with each of our panelists, so that you can continue to follow them as they lead in their respective areas through the community, and also so that you can access their services moving forward. So no particular order, just whoever wants to kick us off, just offer some encouragement for our parents.
I'll jump in and say this is going to be difficult. There's going to be good days, there's going to be bad days. There's going to be days in the middle where it just feels like it's a Groundhog Day. Now, if you haven't already had 6 or 7 or 8 months of that already, there's more of that to come. I'll also say, and I guess just repeat that there will be new things that you, your student, your family, your schedule has to learn. So be willing to do that and know that it's coming. I had an old coach always say, no matter your game plan, there's always going to be 3 things that happen that you did not prepare for. So if you know that and you have that mindset going in there, you already know that I'm ready to react to the adversity. I'm ready to react to something that I can't quite see, but I'm going to handle it with poise. I have resources, and that's a nice segue to if you need anything in basic needs, reach out to your local community provider. Shameless plug for 211. I used to work at a United Way here locally too. I mean, that line or the other online resources that can get you what you need for just your basic needs is where you start. And then you start to build on that. Maslow puts relationships and self-worth and all that higher up, but get your basic needs taken care of very first.
I would just jump in there and say, for me, I think if people would, look for resources as a parent, just try to figure out, like, what is it that your children need? You're the first teacher. You're the expert. And I know that Ms. Hudson is on the line, and she had posted that she hasn't been able to necessarily build the relationships with her families, but there are ways that we can build those things in. And as parents, we have to be willing to send a little quick note and say, hey, this is what I'm noticing in this virtual learning environment. Share those things. Share whatever it is that you see with that educator that your child is being educated by. I also think that it is important for us to compartmentalize. Some of us do it and some of us don't naturally. But ask yourself, like, what is it that I need in this moment as a parent? Do I need other people to help me? So I've seen on Facebook, everybody's been jumping out there and saying, hey, let's do this together, which is a beautiful thing because it is going to be a challenge for all of us. But we all have different skill sets. So combining those skill sets together, I think will be great. Is it a process that you have a question about? Is it a new system that you need to evolve in your household? Like, what are those things that you need to kind of break down? And I think if you can compartmentalize and systematically get things going, then everyone might just be a little bit better off. And then lastly, I'd say use your Khan Academies, use your YouTubes, try to make learning fun for both you and your children. Use Audible. Like, maybe you don't have time to read, but use that at nighttime. Like, if they're reading a book, put it on at night and read with each other as a family. And so everyone's kind of learning together, and it takes some of the pressure off of you as a parent. So whatever it is that you can do, crock pot meals, sharing crock pot meals and recipes with other people, whatever it might be, I think that we all just need to begin to work together to get through this thing, because I do believe that we can, but it's going to take all of us partnering with each other to do so.
I'll just share for myself personally. I think I can speak for all of us on this panel in saying that we're all going through the exact same things that everybody else that is attending this webinar is going through as well. And for me, like, I have to go to Target every day. That's what I've been doing, just because it's up the street from my house, and I literally just go just to get out of the house and to walk around, because I have not been in my home this long with my daughter for so much. And I just moved my office downstairs so that I can have my own personal learning space, but it doesn't matter because she still comes down here and, hey, mommy, so, I mean, I think we all have to find something that works for us, like Monica said, because it's hard. It's very, very hard to figure things out. And because we don't all know the answers. And even though we may be experts in our own rights, we're still parents. And so we still deal with the exact same things. And I did want to share very quickly that the Omaha Public Schools back in July, at the end of July, and I'm just going to read this to you. And I'm working on trying to get a copy of these webinars so that I'm able to share it possibly with Jonathan, and maybe he can send it out, or if someone's interested in contacting me later. But the district put on a couple of webinars back at the end of July. And yes. And the first one was on social emotional learning, managing anxiety, recognizing the signs of anxiety in children, coping skills and strategies to support your child, additional support and resources. And then the second one was about common sense education, creating a safe remote learning environment at home, discussing home learning spaces, establishing healthy meals of media and tech at home, and becoming your child's learning coach. And so I'm working on right now, working with the Office of Diversity and Equity, Mr. Barry Thomas, if you all are familiar with him, who also worked with the Title I office and Student Community Services to host these webinars. And so I'm trying to get a copy of those links that might be valuable and useful to many of our attendees today.
We're looking for encouragement for parents. You're doing a great job. I mean, you wouldn't have expected to be where you are today. You know, we've been in this for several months, and that makes a difference because, you know, this started in March and here we are in August, and you're coming through. So although it seems difficult, you are coming through, you are persevering, and the more we get resources, the better and the easier it will be for you.
I would just ditto what everyone else shared. I know one thing, a conversation I've had with a lot of parents is about the screen time. And so I would go back to that word grace, that, you know, not to spend so much time worrying about the amount of screen time that your kids are having right now, because so many parents have to, again, prioritize work and different things like that. And so understanding that even though the screen time is way past, what we would like them to have, a lot of times as parents that, even if it ends up being a year of additional screen time, it is not gonna stop them from being successful in the future. I would say the only things that you want to, kind of watch for if it's affecting their sleep, if they're not getting exercise, just make sure they're eating, they're getting exercise, they're sleeping, and they're socializing, they're connecting with their peers. And a lot of times that's virtually. And so if they're doing those things, it gets so great, it's okay. We'll be hopefully back to socializing as person at some point. But, just kind of that piece. Also just wanted to share, for parents, it's important for you, stay connected with others virtually. There are a lot of things that you can do, a lot of ways that you can be creative online, making sure you're eating healthy, you're sleeping, you're exercising, spiritually staying connected. If you're a spiritual person, doing what you love to do, finding some time to do what you love to do is really important. And setting boundaries is important at this time because we have a lot of parents that work really hard. And if you're not figuring out a way to set boundaries with your job, there are times you got to say no with others around you. There are times you have to say no because otherwise you're gonna burn yourself out. So just understand that, and things are never going to be in balance, and that's okay. Things are going to seem crazy sometimes, and that's okay. That's where we are right now. But if you made it this far, you're going to make it through this. And I think as far as resources, I just want to share for those in the Baltimore region, so Baltimore City and the surrounding counties. Bradley mentioned 211, and so 211 is great. And what we have built in this region is tech support through 211 for our families that are going to be, accessing devices and needing support. So you can call tech support, also mental health support. So 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, you can access that through 211 as well. So that's our partnership with Pro Bono Counseling. And so, again, that's a great starting point, and you can get connected to all of those other resources that you need.
I can go ahead and jump on right after that. One, parent, be empowered. Know that your voice is very, very powerful. And right now, any question, concern, comment that you have, bring it to those people who can make things move and happen for you. Dr. Holman has been very, very vocal in telling people, one, we're going to work hard for you. We're going to do what we can, but also respect the people who are doing this for you. So approach us and utilize us as a resource. We're here for you. And with all the protests and those things going on, our younger people, your voices are powerful and they make a difference and they have an impact on what happens next. And so again, just utilize your voice and contact those people around you and use them as a resource believe it or not, that the district is more willing to work with you than to fight against you. They don't want a lot of issues or negative things going on with what's going on, the way that we have to teach now. And please, please, please reach out to our educators, reach out to your child's teacher and say, thank you. They planned the whole first quarter chronologically, first period through eighth period for all of your students. That is a hard task to do. And they stepped up to the plate and it's rolling out tomorrow. So just before it even starts, just hit them up via social media, emails, and just say thank you, because they put in a lot of work and they don't get that support and that recognition and that appreciation that they need. And so if we pour into our teachers, they're pour back into us the way that we need them to. And just parents, just know your voice is powerful and we listen and we hear you. And at this point in time, the more voices that we have behind us, the more powerful your board members can be.
So I know
right,
Ms. Wells and Dr. Holman have to leave at 7. So Ms. Wells, go ahead and give all your encouragement for all three. And then Dr. Holman, you can come in and wrap it up with the your encouragement for parents and staff. And then we'll get everyone else after you all have had an opportunity to share.
Okay. I would say that I attended this webinar and it was awesome. But I want to shift your thinking a little bit. We've all heard a lot about social distancing and social distancing. I want to shift our thinking to that we do have to physically distance, but socially we should be connected. Socially we should be connected. So shifting our thinking away from that a little bit to, yes, physically we have to distance for a little bit, but socially making sure that you are getting that time with your scholar or your student, that they're having some time with their friends, setting up some Zoom play dates. My daughter has been on Zoom with her friends, painting toenails for 5 hours, having fashion shows and singing contests. It's so important. And sometimes I look up and I go, it's been 4 hours. But if that's what they need, that's what they need. So add that. Make sure that you are having some social time. Create some new family norms and some family things that you're doing during this time. Embrace this moment of change and make something positive out of it. For the teacher who chimed in earlier, who said she hadn't yet had to make those connections with her families, step outside the box, send them cards, send them postcards, send them quick notes, build some time in where you can identify at least 3 things about each of your parents in your classroom, something that's very significant to them, something that they love to do for fun, and that one thing that kind of keeps them awake at night, whether it's something that has to do with the virus or some struggles that they have with working with their child online. Identify those 3 things. And then try to build those relationships so that they'll be able to open up to you and look for those resources. Parents, please reach out. If you need those resources, this is not a time to sit back and say, I don't know if I should ask. Please ask. And if you don't feel comfortable asking anybody in your circle, reach out to Miss Monica Wells. My email address is provided. I think that we all need to realize that what we do, we can't work in silos. We can't work in silos, because my child may be around your child who is in a different district, who may be around their cousin who's in a different district. So everything that we do impacts all of us.
Great job.
Impacts all of us.
Great.
So reach out, make sure that we're working together, physically distance, but socially, please stay connected. Please stay connected.
Thank you, Mrs. Wells. Dr. Holman?
Yes, I'll just end by saying, just be mindful, be thankful, be prayerful, be patient, and just always do your best. This is going to be a tough time for everybody. And like I've already said before, it's going to be a learning curve for everybody, even for our teachers. You know, most of them have never taught online before. And I teach online in higher ed, and I've been doing it for 7 years now, so it's easy for me. But a lot of my higher ed colleagues always taught face-to-face. So even for them, it's been a transition. So we also have to consider our 18, 17, 18, 19-year-olds who are off to college as well. You know, just that transition in general is just going to be challenging for everybody. And I will say the one great thing about us going through this pandemic and our students having to move towards more virtual learning opportunities is that they are beginning to get better prepared for higher education, you know, because a lot of our courses are online. And so I know this is not the way that we would want for it to happen, but it is, if you think about it, I mean, it is one positive thing that has come out of it. They are getting this opportunity to be better prepared for higher education opportunities.
Thank you, both of you ladies, so much for accommodating us in your schedules. You know that both of you have to run. It's 6:59, so we actually gave you an extra minute. So we did good. But thank you all so much for making the adjustments in your schedule to be with us. And hopefully for those of you that have been watching, you will reach out to them, connect with them, access the resources that are available through them. We thank you both for how you continue to serve our communities, and know that you have our support as you continue to do so. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much. This was a wonderful opportunity to be on this panel.
Thanks for allowing.
Look at the board members working together. You got board members on here.
All right. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you so much.
You do the same.
Bye-bye.
All right. So for our remaining panelists, we are on our students. So offer some encouragement for students. Matter of fact, you can go ahead and offer your encouragement for students and staff, and then we'll come in with closing thoughts and conclude our conversation for the evening.
I'll go. Students, you rock. I mean, I don't know how I would feel if I couldn't get a graduation, how I would feel if I couldn't play football. Like, that's how I paid for my college education, is through being able to graduate in sports and those kind of things. And so you are rock solid, and it's amazing to be able to provide our students with the devices they need in order to learn remotely. But that's also getting them prepared for the future. So doing online classes, that's how I got my grant certification, is an online class. And so it's a resource, and it's a talent, and it's necessary. And so you rock, and they are figuring out a whole different way to social distance, to interact with each other. When you look at social media and the ways that they are just being so very creative, I have a niece who does TikTok, and it's amazing how many followers that she has just off of being funny and joking and dancing. And now it's put in my head, like, okay, when school comes back, she needs to be in theater. She needs to be really pursuing this art, because it's a different art form or a different stage for our kids to really take advantage of. And I know that's something that Step Up covered in doing entrepreneurship and those kind of things. And so I love the fact that they've been able to take this and kind of spin it and work it in their own way, and take advantage of the opportunities of being able to get online, talk with friends, and then boost that social media presence in a positive way. So just continue to do that, push it, and then knock out your education, knock out your classes, and then also take this time to take some college classes. You can register online. College classes for high school students are usually half off, depending upon where you're at. And then you can knock out some of those general education classes and further your career, your educational opportunities. So just keep it up, and we're here for you. We're here with you, but you guys are amazing.
And I would just say the same. I think it's important for us to remember that we're all enough in this moment, that we have everything that we need, and that's each other. I know that it's going to be tough, but I think for our students, I would say you can do this. I think oftentimes they question, like, am I going to be able to do this? Will I know how to use Teams, or will I know how to do this or that or whatever? Maybe you don't today, but you will learn that this week. And so it's just be open to learning, be open to the new experiences, and then also figure out new ways, whether it's going out to Pinterest and becoming more creative with the ways that you learn, or helping out around the house. I think this is a time for us to learn some new life skills, put some new tools in our toolbox. So not just the virtual learning aspect or the technology aspects, but how do you make math more fun in the kitchen, the recipes, that you're cooking with, or whatever the case is. Like, find those different things that you can actually do to help out around the house as well. So as we're talking to parents, I think we also need to ask some of our students to step it up a little bit more, and to figure out what it is that they can do around the house, and how do they become the creative ones in the house to say, hey, you know what, to my teacher, to my parent, like, have you ever thought about doing it this way? As Ricky said earlier, your voice does matter, and you guys have so many ideas rolling around in there. You're talking to your friends, you're on FaceTime, you're TikToking, you're doing all these things. Like, what else can you do to help us as adults to learn what it is that how we can support you a little bit more? And I would say to our educators, for those who are looking for ways, like, what can you do online? There's virtual bingo that's free. Like, can that be one of your mind breaks? I know in the summer, that's what we did. We did some Pictionary games. We also, I encourage people to think about culture. They're at home, so they can go grab a picture of a family member that's important to them, or they can go grab some item and do a show and tell, even in high school, because it can add value to maybe those three things that Dr. Wells is talking about just saying like, hey, or what is it that you can learn about them that maybe you wouldn't have been able to learn about them in the actual classroom. So I think we just have a unique opportunity to get in the lab, do things a little bit differently, love on each other a little bit more, and appreciate each other's talents as they come, and be a little bit more authentic. So I just ask you to give yourselves permission to be authentic and be in a space that you can actually continue to grow.
I think
I was go ahead, Brian. Okay. I think so. Again, ditto everyone. I would also share I think perspective is everything. I have often shared with people gratitude is really important, especially during this time, for our adults and our young people. But with our young people, they have, some of them have missed some major moments. But thinking about missing those major moments, also think about, just all of the moments every day that you do get back during this time. I think about, talking to students every day. There are so many students who, they didn't want to wake up early because, in Baltimore City, they're taking multiple buses to get to school across town. So you got to wake up at the crack of dawn. And think about that when it's like 5 degrees outside. You don't have to wake up and stand at the bus stop when it's 5 degrees outside, that's, and wait for an hour. That's a plus. So think about that. And lunchtime is, used to be this long. Now lunchtime is a little longer. You have a lot more flexibility. So just thinking about those things, I think that we don't often think about, times upset because you can't talk to your friend in class. Well, nobody can take your phone at home. Not that you should be on your phone in your class, but lean on each other while you're doing, your assignments. Still do your classwork, get it done. But just think about all the pluses of where you are right now, and you're literally shaping the future of education at this time. You're part of history. And so, our hope is that this changes the way that we see things. And for our staff, we have been constrained so much by testing and all those things we complain about all the time. And so now is the time, I think like Monique said, like to really be creative, and how can we really leverage this time, be creative, and show that there are different things that can work for our young people. Help them to critically think, help to support them critically thinking, and all of those things. And so I think it's such an opportunity. Although there are a lot of things that are difficult with the situation, there are so many opportunities in this situation as well. From that to just even looking at additional vocational opportunities and folks that we can connect our young people with during that virtual time that we wouldn't have been able to in the classroom. There are just so many different ways to do things. And so just perspective is everything.
Absolutely. I think that you bring about perspective. And when you think about being creative, I mean, that's where we sit. That being creative and how they are engaging one another. Well, I'm going to speak directly to the youth. Whether we're talking about a family fun night that our youth kind of create for the family, whether we're talking about gardening or building YouTube pages, or TikTok has just gone out of this world now. Our children are learning coding on their own. So, they are involved in these kind of activities. So I think we got to pour into that. But what I also want to remind the youth, I want them to be mindful that they have to utilize their resources. Talk to your teachers, talk to your counselors, talk to your case managers. You have to become emotionally aware. Acknowledge your feelings when you are discouraged, when there's stress, when there's anxiety. There are some resources there for you to connect to. Your teachers are available. Your counselors are available. Case managers, facilitators. Take advantage of that. You are not alone. They need to be reminded that they can build their own support groups, which they are doing in a lot of environments. They can build their own support groups, build their own teams, build their own positive peer culture, if you will, important to themselves that way. But we have to also be acknowledging that there's a need and be available, for that connection. There are, if you guys in Nebraska, but there are federally qualified healthcare centers in all the states. FQHC is a powerful contact because it provides things at a great cost, if not free, for the individual. So you can get great mental health support there. You can get great physical health support there. And it's just a really great resource. Because it's COVID-19, CDC website has a ton of resources around mental health for children, for youth, different strategies, teaching techniques to help you go through this virtual learning process. So take advantage of the resources that you have. Tap on the door, tap on the phone, send the text, send the email, and watch and see all the support that they have, that you have.
I'll round it out by echoing a lot of the same sentiment that I've heard today. Number one is be encouraged. And it's one of those, like, tap your neighbor, tell them be encouraged, and if I ain't got it today, I need you to have it today. I'm gonna have it tomorrow, and I'm gonna give it to you tomorrow. So make sure that we stay encouraged. It reminds me of an old song that I won't sing for you right now. The second big idea I would say is to keep big ideas in your mind. We have to continue to dream. Students, staff, parents, the seniors that still want to go play, the juniors who think that this and that, all of them, all the way down to the 8-year-olds that we've been talking about. We have to continue to dream. If we don't have that hope and that aspiration, if we don't continue to look forward to goals and action item steps, then I think we're doing ourselves a disservice. And I think that would be one of the biggest tragedies, is if we just wake up every day and just do this Groundhog Day and continue to act real robotic without being creative and thinking outside the box and setting new and innovative goals for ourselves, learning new skills. I mean, again, similar to everything that we've heard, but what is it about me, my unique goals, talents, my spirit, my inspiration? How can I materialize that even at this time? Set that goal and go get it.
Excellent feedback from all of you, and I am really grateful for the time that we've had to be able to just talk through this conversation. Again, this is something that could extend for hours upon hours, because there are so many just facets to what's going on in our society today. But I thank you all for your insight, for your feedback, for your input, for your encouragement, for your perspective. It was really awesome to see that just with the limited number of individuals we had on the panel tonight, how well-rounded the perspective of the current challenges was, and also how well-rounded the perspective of opportunities for help and tips and available resources that are out there for our parents and for our families to take advantage of and to engage in and to access. And so I want to thank each and every one of you for your engagement on our panel tonight. And real quick, before we wrap up, I do want to come back through you all. I don't know if you saw, but I should have figured out a way to make these overlays overlaid differently, because for those of you that are on the bottom of the panel, half of your face has been gone during the overlay. So I was, bouncing back and forth as to whether or not we were going to put them up, but we're going to come through, come back to all of you so that you can share your contact information with those that may be watching tonight, so that they can follow up with you, they can connect with you, they can see the work that you're doing at your respective organizations and plug into the resources that you have available. So we'll go with, we'll start in the upper right-hand corner. We'll come to Ms. Monique Cannon, since she has the longest list of opportunities to connect. So go ahead, Monique, and tell them how to get in contact with you.
Well, you can email me at mcannon@empoweromaha.com. You can also hit me up on Facebook at Monique Gun Cannon. I can be your secret weapon. Instagram, Monique Cannon, and Twitter, Monique Cannon as well. So to all of you, thank you for attending. I'm here as a resource. I will connect you up with whoever I know. My network is your network. So we got this, y'all. We got this.
Thank you. All right, coming to the bottom row, big sister Heather, go ahead and share with everyone how they can get in contact with you. They can't see your mouth, but they can see your picture.
It's all good.
Yeah, matter of fact, sit up and lean up to there we go. They can see your head now.
Yes. So you can hit me, or you can email me, info@heatherandchapman.com. And I have a website, heatherandchapman.com, very easy to remember. That's why I chose it. So, again, like Monique said, happy to, connect with any resources that are needed. Happy to connect. If I don't have them, I'll try my best to connect with someone that does. And Jonathan, just one quick thing that I think we didn't mention that I think is really important, just for us to have a community mentality as we're going through all of this and not think individualistically. Because we do have, kids, young people, and adults that are silently suffering through all of this. And so it is not okay to say it's not my business. It is all of our business. So there's still, abuse, intimate partner violence, folks that are drinking too much during this time. And so it's important that we are checking in on people continuously, that we are connecting, that we are not, we're just only physically distancing, but not socially distancing, as I think Monique mentioned before. So just wanted to plug that out there.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Bailey.
Absolutely.
Go ahead and lean forward for us so we can see you.
Okay.
There you go.
So, thanks again for inviting me. My company is Radical Positivity Consulting. You can reach me at B. Bailey at It's Radical Positivity Consulting. You have to put the it's in there, or you can go to the website and visit at It's Radical Positivity. And I agree with Ms. Guncannon. My resources are your resources.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Yes, you can reach me via email, either at ricky.smith@ops.org or at Facebook, Ricky Smith, OPS Board of Education. Also, I have additional email is rickysmithleadership@yahoo.com. And I'm also one of those guys that you can call or text. My word is bond. So 402-401-0257, to the call.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm clicking through all these banners. We had another comment to share there. And Dr. Brad.
Yes. You can also email me is probably the best. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn too, so you can do those things. I'll add in, just one final comment too about not leaving anything on the table right now. That this is a prime time for you to utilize, get ahead, think, strategize, move forward. And I also want to, get to the point to Ms. Chapman as well, is check in on somebody. Just because you think you're doing all right, that doesn't mean that everybody's doing all right. So see things through the lens of those around you. Even if everybody around you is doing all right, still try to see through the lens of somebody else. So I'm also very appreciative of the time tonight and the space.
Thank you. So as we prepare to wrap up, there's my contact information as well. But this has been a really fruitful time, and I know even as a parent of 4 children, and 2 who are in elementary school, 1 who is starting preschool this year, and 1 that's in daycare. It is overwhelming. I thank God for my wife in this process, because she really, being an educator, she really helps to manage all of that and keep everything together. But I can't imagine what the load is like for families that don't have that kind of support and don't have the kind of network that we have and the resources that we have. And so to all of your points, I think the big piece in all of this that we have to remember is that we're not in it alone. Unlike some of our other challenges that we deal with, coronavirus, virtual learning, this is stuff that everybody else is dealing with. And is impacted by in some way, shape, or form. So you are not crazy for feeling the way that you feel. You are not crazy for being overwhelmed and frustrated. You are not crazy for being discouraged and depressed at times. You are not alone in this. And I think it's important for you to know, as we wrap up this conversation tonight, that communities exist that want to support you and want to partner with you in this journey. If you are not connected to a community of faith, then this is a perfect opportunity to begin building those relationships, because you need partners along the journey in life to walk with you. To Dr. Brad's point, so that on those days when you're not good, you can depend on somebody that is good. And on those days where you are good, you can help to lift up somebody else that's not having a good day. We can get through this together. The Lord wouldn't give it to us if we weren't going to be able to succeed in it. So know that the simple fact that you are in it means that you are going to get out of it. But we just have to continue persevering each and every day. And we can only take it one day at a time. Sometimes you have to take it 1 hour at a time, sometimes 1 minute at a time. And there are times where you can only take it 1 second at a time, but keep on making progress through the process, and we'll all emerge victorious on the other side. Thank you again to all of our panelists for joining us tonight. For those of you that were commenting and engaged online, we appreciate you for your engagement, and we're excited to know that the conversation was a blessing. If you haven't already, please take an opportunity to share this video because there are so many nuggets that our parents and our students and our staff members need to take advantage of, to be able to plug into, so that they can get the same encouragement, the same support, the same ideas that you received tonight. Don't be stingy, but share the blessing with somebody else. And I think Ricky put up his church finger, so either he's got to go to the bathroom or
I wanted to save you some headache and anguish real quick and mention that we're in this together, but it's cross-cultural. So it's the brown, the black, every piece of population that's in Omaha, all across the country. We are mindful that everybody needs that network, that resource, that support. So I don't want you to get beat over the head and say, well, you only talked about one group of people. We're talking about all students, the entire spectrum.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's close out with a word of prayer, and we will wrap. Father, we are grateful and thankful that you have blessed us with this time to be able to gather together and to share on this topic of the impact of virtual learning on our families and the ongoing conversation and dialogue about mental health in the pandemic. We thank you, God, for each of our panelists tonight and for the experience and the expertise that they brought to the conversation. We thank you for their meaningful contributions and for the evidence of how it blessed those that were watching this conversation tonight. And I pray, God, that you would bless each of our panelists in the work that they continue to do in service to our community. Lord, it is one thing to go through the difficulties that we are experiencing right now, but it's something totally different to be in positions of leadership during this time. And I pray, God, that you would restore them, that you would grant them the strength to continue to push forward, the creativity to continue to dream bigger, God, and continue to anoint their gifts, that their service during this time would be excellent, and that it would be distinguishable amongst others in their same field, God, that you would be working through them to be able to help elevate people to a new level. I pray, God, that you would continue to bless not only their jobs, but also bless their homes, Lord, as it is increasingly difficult to compartmentalize work life from home life and family life and personal life. Lord, I pray that you would help them to find the appropriate balance. Balance doesn't necessarily mean equal, Lord, but appropriate. And I pray, Lord, that you would help them all to be able to share appropriate time with their families and appropriate time with their work. And I pray, God, that you would just continue to be with them, guide them, and continue to cover them each and every day. Lord, we pray for our parents. We pray for our students, and we pray for our staff, that you would continue to be with all of them, Lord. I pray that anyone that's feeling alone would embrace their connection to community, that they would reach out to somebody else so that they don't have to go through this alone. I pray, Lord, for each of us that are connected to you, that as you guide us by your Holy Spirit and let us know that somebody needs to be called or texted or reached out to, I pray that you would help us to be obedient to that we would be your hands and your feet in this earth, seeking to connect your people to community. And as we continue to go forward, we pray for our leaders in all positions, that you would grant them your wisdom to be able to make the decisions that are in the best interest of advancing our community and the health and the safety of not only our students, but our staff and our families and our communities. We thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to be a part of the work right now. And we just pray that each and every day that you would be glorified by how we live, by how we lead, and by how we love. Yes. Thank you, God, so much for this opportunity. We love you and we bless you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. And the last community comment comes from Janae Chapman, because that is the privilege of the wife of the moderator. So thank you all so much again for joining our panel tonight. And for those of you that have joined us online, thank you so much for your engagement. We appreciate you, and we will be doing this again. So stay tuned. Have a great night. God bless.
Good night.
Right.